Okay, today continuing our look into Chapter 4, we're going to do Section 4.2, which is using special segments in triangles. So the first slide is just a recap of everything we did in 4.1. You can see our four special segments there: median, altitude, angle bisector, and perpendicular bisector. A median comes from a vertex and goes to a midpoint, giving us two congruent segments. An altitude comes from a vertex and is perpendicular, giving us two right angles. An angle bisector comes from a vertex and gives us two congruent angles. And finally, a perpendicular bisector goes through a midpoint and is also perpendicular. That gives us two things: two congruent segments from the midpoint and two right angles from the perpendicular lines. Feel free to pause the video here and copy that down as needed. Otherwise, we're going to move into some questions for today. Question number 1, if DV is a median, so I immediately see the word median. My first thought should be there's a midpoint somewhere on this picture, okay? So what is the midpoint? Well, it's either going to be D or V. D cannot be a midpoint because it's a part of the triangle. So therefore, V must be my midpoint. What does a midpoint tell us? It tells us that these two segments are congruent. So now that I know that 3x minus 1 must equal x plus 7. The other two sides mean nothing here. We don't know anything about them right now. But all we do know is that 3x minus 1 must equal x plus 7 because of the word median. So solving this, subtracting x from both sides and adding 1 to both sides and then dividing by 2, we should get x equals 4. To find AI, we got to put 4 into AV, and that would give us 11, and into VI, and that would give us 11. So AI is equal to 11 plus 11, or 22. Number 2, AI is an altitude. As soon as I see the word altitude, I should be thinking perpendicular lines. Okay, so here's AI right here. What lines are perpendicular? Well, that's going to be AI and NC. So these two angles here are right angles. So as soon as I see the word altitude, I should be thinking right angles, which are 90 degrees. So I know that this angle right here must be 90 degrees. So 2x plus 4 must equal 90 degrees. Okay, subtracting 4 from both sides and dividing by 2. X is equal to 43. But then we're also asked to find the measure of NAC. So NAC, this big angle here. So we can put 43 into both these two little angles. 43 plus 11 is 54. 43 minus 7 is 36. So measure of angle NAC is 54 plus 36, which happens to be 90 degrees. That's just a coincidence that happened. That doesn't always happen. It just happens to work out that would be 90 degrees. All right, I'd like you to pause the video at this point, and please try problems 3 and 4. Come back when you're done. Okay, here is your work and answers for 3 and 4. Number 3, we have median. So that tells me that these two segments are equal. That's the equation you should have set up. Find x and put it back in to get Li. Number 4, we see the word altitude, so we should be thinking right angles. So we know 9x plus 9 is 90. Find x, put it back in to get Li. Number 5, OA is a perpendicular bisector. That tells you two things. One, these two segments are equal because of the word bisector. And 2, these two angles are right angles because of the word perpendicular. So we're going to set up two different equations here. The first one is going to be 15y minus 1 equals 6y plus 8 because I know those two segments are congruent. Subtracting 6y from both sides Adding 1 to both sides and dividing gives us y is equal to 1. My second equation, I know that this angle right here is a right angle. So I know 7x plus 13 must be 90. Subtracting 13 and dividing by 7 gives me x equals 11. So the final thing we got to do is find find LR. So LR is 2x plus 5y, which is 22 plus 5, or 27. Please pause the video there and try number 6. All right, here's your work and answer for number 6. I know that 14y plus 20 is a right angle because of the perpendicular, and I know these two segments are congruent because of the word bisector. Put those back into SR to get 55. Number 7, given EI is an angle bisector. So you see the word angle bisector and EI, that means that these two angles are congruent. So I can immediately set 3x minus 11 equal to x plus 5. Subtracting x, adding 11, and dividing by 2 gives me x equals 8. And now the question says to find NR. So take your 8, put it in here. We get 22. And here, we get 15. So NR is 22 plus 15, 37 units. Number 8. All right, we got to draw our own picture for this. Given MA is an angle bisector of CAR. Let's stop there and draw the picture. Draw a triangle CAR. MA is an angle bisector. So from A, draw an angle bisector. And we'll call that point M. CAM is 3y minus 4. MCA is 10y minus 22. MAR is 4y minus 17. Find y and the measure of those two angles there. So because this is an angle bisector, I know these two angles are congruent. So my equation should be 3y minus 4 equals 4y minus 17, completely ignoring the 10y minus 22. Subtract 3y from both sides and add 17 to both sides gives us y is equal to 13. To find MCA, simply put 13 into here. 10 times 13 minus 22 is 108 degrees. And to find CAR, we got to add these two angles together. So put 13 back into one of them. It doesn't really matter which one. 3 times 13 minus 4, this is 35, which means this is also 35 because they're congruent. So CAR must be 70 degrees. 35 plus 35. All right, last one, number 9. First of all, I missed an x there. So an AXL, please put 10x plus 6. And then when you're ready, go ahead and try number 9. Come back when you have finished to check your answers. All right, there's all your work for number 9. You should have got your final answer to be x equals 5 and AE to be 29. We knew that this was our equation because angle bisector gives us these two angles are congruent. Plug that 5 back in over here and add those together to get our 29. That'll do it for section 4.2.